We did the West yesterday. Let's do the East and week 1 of the Sun Belt 2025 season today. It's Locked On Sun Belt.
You are Locked On Sun Belt, your daily podcast on the Sun Belt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sun Belt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Okay, we will go over the Sun Belt East in the first 2 segments, and then we will preview week 1, including App State and Charlotte. They're playing today, and then we'll do all of week 1. So it's going to be a long segment. It is what it is. We will try to have a short recap of the ULM St. Francis game that is already about under an hour delay due to thunderstorms. Shocker. But I already decided that wasn't going to be in the recap because we're going to have to wait for 3.5 hours. And I wasn't waiting till 10:30 my time to do the podcast. So we are recording during the delay. Hopefully they get that game going shortly. Okay. I'm having a difficult time doing the Sun Belt East. I really, truly believe you could absolutely, I think, flip a coin between the bottom 4 teams. I think you could have any one of those 4 teams finish in any one of those spots. I think Georgia State could finish 4th. I think App State could finish 7th. I think Marshall could finish 5th. And I think Coastal Carolina could finish 6th. And it could be anywhere. I look at those teams and I'm not sure on who's going to be all that good. Mostly due to the quarterback. Mostly. All right. We don't know what we're going to get out of App State and Marshall. These are new coaches. Marshall's got a new quarterback. App State's got a new quarterback. App State's quarterback has played a little bit. So Marshall's going to play all 3 quarterbacks. They're all going to be sacrificial lambs this week. Hopefully they survive. So take the bottom part of the Sun Belt East prediction with a grain of salt because it really could be in any direction. All right. However, we are going to go with Georgia State being 7th. I still think they're going to be better than last year. I still think they could get to that 4 or 5 win total. That's 4 is more than they had last year. Could they get to 5? And I think another good recruiting class, and all of a sudden they could be bowl bound in 2026. Let's see. Again, see if they can be competitive against Ole Miss. We'll get into that later. They had a bunch of 1-score games last year. And let's see if they can improve on that now that they are all settled, right? You just couldn't get – they were always behind the 8 ball last year. Now they're not, all right? Again, excuses versus reasons. That was a pretty good reason last year. They got hired late. They were behind on everything. Now they're not, all right? They got a year under their belt. Let's move it forward. Let's see what happens this year with Georgia State. But they are number 7. Number 6, I'm going to go Coastal Carolina. Again, quarterback is still up in the air. One of the guys who was competing was hurt. We'll see who the quarterback is. Still like what Tim Beck is doing. We just need to find him a quarterback that he can build around, a la J.C. French, Jalen Rayner, somebody who can be there for more than a year. And he hasn't been able to do that. In fact, last year, he didn't even have a guy for a year. So I like the direction that they have. Tim Beck is understanding what's going on in the portal and the NIL. I don't know how much they have in NIL. They got that indoor facility built. I like the direction that Coastal Carolina is going in. But I think they are going to finish 6th. Okay. And again, these could be in any direction. All right. I'm going to have Marshall finishing 5th. I think Tony Gibson has done a really good job under the radar of filling in that defensive side. And that's a big deal because we could have rotating quarterbacks all season. If you're playing 3 quarterbacks, you don't have one, right? I mean, they say that if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any. And they're going to play all 3. That's going to be an issue. All right. We'll see who survives against Georgia. I'm not sure that's the best way to figure out who's the best quarterback. Although, if one stands out against Georgia and plays well, then that's going to be your guy, obviously. But I think I like the way they could be on defense, which is the way Marshall's played the last few years. So I like what they've done on defense. I think the way I'm going to pick App State being 4th is because they got A.J. Swan, and he's got the most experience out of any and all of the quarterbacks of this group of 4. No pun intended. The former Vanderbilt quarterback was the backup at LSU, I guess, last year. And he's got the most experience. All right. Oddly enough, I'm putting the 2 new coaches with no head coaching experience against the guys that have head coaching experience. That could be a talent thing. Again, could be a quarterbacking thing. All right. Again, Marshall's got 3 quarterbacks. They're all expected to play against Georgia. That means that one guy didn't stick out in fall camp, or it could be a coach just telling us playing gamemanship. It could be just one guy, right? And let's see Christian Veilleux take that next step. All right, play some better football, and we'll see if Georgia State can get that 5 to 6 win level. Maybe they are better, but that's the way I see it. And again, I think those 4 teams, Georgia State 7, Coastal Carolina 6, Marshall 5, which ironically, or coincidentally, or neither probably, I picked Marshall 5th last year, and they won the conference championship. So you got that going for you, Marshall Thundering Herd fans. And App State 4th. Those teams could finish in any order as far as I'm concerned. All right. I'm not sure that those teams could finish higher, regardless of what I just said about Marshall. But I think those teams are towards the bottom of the division. But they could finish in any order between 4th and 7th. All right. Now, let's take a timeout. We'll come back and we'll talk about the top dogs. I do have a little surprise in this one. I'm going a little bit against the grain. I think all the teams are really good, but I am going to go against the grain a little bit. And we will tell you about this after I tell you about Game Time. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. All right, I told you I did that a couple of weeks ago. It wasn't college football, but it was the Reds and the Brewers, like the 12th row in between home plate and first base. It was a gorgeous day game. I had the day off, took my nephew to Samo right before we went back to school, and we had a great day. We were the cooler for the Brewers as their 14-game winning streak went by the boards, although the Reds tried their best to blow it. And we had a great time, and it was all because of Game Time. We found great seats, 2 seats, for less than $100. How can you beat that? All because of Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go. Download Game Time today. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. We do have an opportunity for you if you want to help us out a little bit. We have this survey where you can win an Amazon gift card. Check this out. All right, we have an important request. Lockdown wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcasts.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's talk about who's going to win the Sunbelt East. Okay. JMU is supposedly loaded. I just don't know who the quarterback is. I'm a huge Alonzo Barnett III fan. Has been cleared for contact. My pick would be different if he was starting the season healthy. We'll see when he's going to go. All right. Matt Sluka did not complete a high percentage of his passes last year. Can run the football, and he did throw 6 touchdowns and only 1 interception in the games that he did play. So there's that. But he's more of a ground guy than explosive through the air. So it would be a very different kind of football game with Alonzo Barnett versus Matt Sluka. So I'm going to pick JMU third for right now. All right. I guess that can change. It's not going to change. I'm going to pick him third, but Alonzo Barnett III comes back when they come here to play Louisville in 2 weeks, which I would hopefully be at. We'll be looking forward to seeing Bob Chesney and the crew there. It could be a very different kind of game. Okay. I'm picking number 2. I'm picking ODU, Colton Joseph, and Ricky Ronnie. Jason Henderson is back. Ronnie's 6th year at the helm. He's got an explosive quarterback in Colton Joseph. He's got a high-flying offense. I mean, it is, I don't want to say now or never, because if they do well, Colton Joseph should be back, although he might not be. If he does really well, could go get some money and do a Gio Lopez and take off. But you got to start competing for the Sunbelt East if you're Ricky Ronnie and ODU. All right. A bowl game is not good enough. A winning record is not good enough. You have to compete for a Sunbelt East title. And I'm picking Ricky Ronnie and ODU and Colton Joseph and Jason Henderson, number 2 in the Sunbelt East. And I'm going Clay Helton and Georgia Southern to win the Sunbelt East. Seems like everybody's got JMU 1 and Georgia Southern 2. I'm going Clay Helton and JC French the 4th. They're going to go out to Fresno State. They're going to beat up on Fresno State. Fresno State did not look very good last week. And we'll see what they do against USC. I don't know anything about USC. One would think that would be a mismatch, but you never know. Their quarterback is here playing in Louisville. JMU is going to play Miller Moss. So we'll see what happens there. But Georgia Southern should go out there and at the very least split. I presume they got a quarterback because they're USC and they're Lincoln Riley, but we'll see what happens. You never know. Clay Helton and they went in there and made Scott Frost in Nebraska a few years back, right? Same weekend that Marshall beat Notre Dame and App State beat A&M. So we'll see. But it's year 4 of this. You do have JC French back. He played better than I thought he did last season. 10 interceptions. It's not a little bit, right? You'd like to cut that in half. But 8 of those interceptions were in 2 ball games. 4 of them were in the last game, in the bowl game against Sam Houston State. And they still only lost by, I think, 5. So you throw 3 interceptions and you win the ball game. JC French cuts down on those interceptions. The one thing that Georgia Southern has not had an issue with is scoring points. They had some big wins last year, right? They were, right up there with Boise State and Ashton Gentry. Could not slow them down. 267 yards and 6 touchdowns later, they could not get that one stop. But Boise State had a lot of trouble stopping Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern had a big come-from-behind victory against Marshall. Marshall helped them out a lot of it. Helped them out a lot in that ball game, all right? They had a huge come-from-behind win against South Alabama. They slipped up against ODU and Troy, all right? They should have been playing for a Sun Belt championship, or certainly could have been, but they tripped themselves up, all right? Let's see if they can get off to a good start. Coming back from the West Coast road trip, 1-1 would be outstanding. A couple weeks ago, I was thinking they could be 0-2, but then still reel off 9 or 10 wins. Anything less than 1-1 is going to be disappointing. All right. Losing to Fresno State is going to be disappointing. Unless Kansas is a top 10 playoff team, which who knows? Maybe they are. I don't know. Kansas played really well last week. Outside of Fresno State's first drive, they were bad. All right. EJ Warner struggled. He threw not 1, but 2 really bad interceptions last week. They could not move the ball at all. I will say Kansas didn't do a great job on 3rd down, although they did convert a couple of 4th downs. And we'll see how that goes. But I'm liking Georgia Southern. That's where I am. All right. So let's see if we can do this off the top of my head again. Georgia Southern 1, ODU 2. I got JMU 3, and that's because I don't know who the quarterback is. I'd be much higher on JMU if it was Alonzo Barnett III rather than Matt Sluka. All right. Then I'm going to go App State because A.J. Swan is more experienced than the others. And then I'm going to go Marshall. Then I'm going Coastal Carolina, and I'm going Georgia State. But again, those last 4, those could end up in any order of those last, anyone. You could pick those in any order because I think they are that close. If any one of those last 4 end up in the top 3, I'd be impressed, and someone up top got injured is what I would think is what happened. All right, let's take a timeout. Let me see if we are 8:10 Eastern time, and Monroe and St. Francis are still in a delay. There's a good bet. The minute recap isn't going to happen until I get up on Friday morning. You can only stay up so long, folks. So let's take a timeout. We'll come back and we will preview week 1 of the Sun Belt season. We'll do that right after I tell you about Upside. Hey, Sun Belt fans. You're still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or on Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited promo code FOOTBALL and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out at any time to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited code FOOTBALL for a limited time, 25 cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code FOOTBALL. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Before we continue, again, special thanks to everybody who, got me over 2,500. I saw some, people who listen all the time saying, hey, let's support Dave, get him over that 2,500 mark. Really do appreciate it. That means a lot. It really does. Saw some guys who came in and we were talking Cajuns football. some people came in from Lafayette a couple weeks ago. Someone just came in this past weekend. They tweeted it out. They saw me and said hi. And I really do appreciate it. That's very kind. So thank you very much to all of the supporters. It's going to be a fun season. I'm looking forward to trying to get to more than just the JMU Louisville ball game. It's coming to me. See if we can get to a Marshall or a JMU football game that I can within driving distance is basically what it is. All right. So week 1 preview. Again, we're waiting for that ULM football game to kick off. Well, who knows if it even did? I presume that they're waiting as long as they can. It is in a delay. So if you're listening to this on Friday morning, which you probably are, they were in a delay, at least an hour delay. All right. So we go to App State and Charlotte. App State this is down to 4.5. This is trending towards Charlotte. The game is actually in Charlotte. They are playing at Bank of America Stadium. All right. Charlotte last year, again, this really means nothing anymore, right? Compared to, you'd have to know a lot more about them, but we're just giving you for comparison's sake. Charlotte finished 5-7 last year, although they did finish with wins over Florida Atlantic and UAB, although didn't everybody beat UAB last year? So, and they just slipped past them 29-27, but they beat Florida Atlantic 39-27. And they beat UAB 29-27. So they did finish 5-7, although they did have a 4-game losing streak in there. Some of those teams were pretty good. They lost to Navy. They lost to Memphis. They lost to Tulane. And they lost to South Florida. All right. So we'll see. I'm going to take App State in this one, and I think they're going to win, and I think they're going to cover. And I need to really write these things down because I'm going to straight up and against the spread. We're going to keep that record and do it on a weekly basis for you. All right. So that is App State and Charlotte. Let's see what AJ Swan. I'm interested to seeing how it goes with Dowell Loggins. All right. I'm really interested. He was very impressive. Sometimes we're just in our own little world, and he's been coaching forever, and he was coaching in college. The South Carolina quarterback, and he's ready for this. And so I'm looking forward to seeing him go at it. And it's going to be, I think App State's got the right guy. Like I think Marshall's got the right guy for a little bit of the long term. And we're going to be interested to see on how that goes. And it is Friday night. So they kind of have the showcase before all those big ball games on Saturday. All right. As long as there's no rain delay. All right. So that is on Friday. Also a 7 p.m. start in theory. Right. We should be close to halftime of this other game, but that's not. Also, that App State game is on ESPNU. So the Sun Belt getting a little national TV exposure, whereas the Monroe game is just ESPN Plus if it ever gets underway. Okay. Southern Miss and Mississippi State. I'm not changing it now. I'm not. I'm going to go all in on this one. It is back up to 13.5. I think it opened up at 14. It's been around 11.5 and 12.5 for most of the summer. Somewhere along the way, it may have gotten down to 10.5. I'm still going Southern Miss. I don't care. All right. Let me see what it is. It's just easy to see the line on a certain website because it all gets the Sun Belt in one spot compared to FanDuel where it's all over the place. But Southern Miss is plus 390. I like that. If you don't know what that means, you bet 100, you win 390. Whereas Mississippi State, you got to bet $530 to win 100 just for them to win. They are favored by almost 2 touchdowns. I'm going to take Southern Miss. with the 13.5, and I'm taking Southern Miss to win the football game. All right. I'm not nearly as confident as I once was in that ball game, but I'm going that way. Indiana and Old Dominion, FS1. All right. I think Indiana's going to win. I want to see Old Dominion cover this game. All right. Old Dominion has played Curt Cignetti and JMU tough. I'm sure they have some Big Ten players there instead of just some Old Dominion players there. And Indiana's ranked 20th. It's still Curt Cignetti's offensive scheme and defensive scheme. IU is a 23.5-point favorite. I don't think Old Dominion's going to win this football game. I think they're going to cover. All right. That's what I want to see. All right. Or else that pick for number 2 in the Sun Belt East may be wrong. I think they're going to cover that point spread. Let's see if they can hang tough with Indiana. All right. But I do think Indiana is going to win that football game. All right. Georgia and Marshall. Marshall's going to play Between the Hedges. That's on ESPN. So, I mean, we got first 3 games. In fact, well, not including Thursday night. Charlotte and App State, ESPNU. Mississippi State and Southern Miss, ESPN. Although there may be a few other people watching a different game at noon or 11 p.m. Central Time on Saturday. Indiana, Old Dominion, FS1. All right. Marshall and Georgia, 3:30, ESPN. All right. Outstanding. All right. And these are Eastern Time because that's where I am it does automatically adjust to where you are. All right. That's going to be a tough spot for Georgia. I presume Georgia's going to win and cover. It'd be nice to see if Marshall did battle for the first half, and let's see if they can keep it close for the first half, but I would not be surprised. I mean, 45-10, Marshall covers. That's 35, but 49-10, they do not, or 55-10, they do not. So I would not put anything on this ball game. All right. That's, I do like mismatches, and this is a mismatch. So if I was a betting man, I would bet Georgia on this one. I don't think Marshall's going to cover that spread, so in this case. Virginia and Coastal Carolina. Virginia is an 11.5-point favorite. That's on the ACC network. Again, nationally televised ball game. What was Virginia last year? Were they that good? Because they're 5-7. Could Coastal pull this off? Because certainly they could cover this ball game, right? I'm not so sure because we just don't know. We just don't know. I don't know a whole lot about Virginia, but I just don't know we do not know about the quarterback just yet at Coastal Carolina. All right. So we'll find out. It's at 6 p.m. Eastern time start, but I'd like to think that Coastal Carolina can keep it close. Virginia is not that good. All right. That's the thing. When you are a G5 school like Coastal Carolina and you're not playing a top Power 4 school, you need to be able to keep it close. That's the thing. That's the thing. James Madison taking on Weber State. No line on this one yet because it is FCS. There will be a line on it. That ULM game line came out like 23.5. Then it went up to 30. That Monroe is favored by if they ever get to play. James Madison should roll. Let's see what Weber State was last year. That's on ESPN Plus. They're in the Big Sky, and they were 4-8. This should not be close. They snapped a 5-game losing streak with a 28-17 win over Cal Poly in the last game of the year. Otherwise, their last win would have been October 5th. So they did not go into the offseason with a bad taste in their mouth. That should be a very easy win for JMU. Wouldn't be surprised if that spread is 30, and wouldn't be surprised if JMU covers. All right. I am interested to see if it's just Matt Sluka and if he can complete a pass, more than 50% of his passes, and we'll see how that goes. All right. Arkansas State taking on Southeast Missouri State. All right. The only problem with this one is it a trap game for Arkansas State because they're playing Arkansas. All right. And let me see here. I don't know if this guy's back or not. Paxton DeLaurent. He threw for 4,000 yards last year, 33 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. That sounds like a lot, and it is, but he threw it 618 times, completed about 60% of his passes, got a passer rating of 127.7. So if he's back, let's see if he's back. He's not back. Oh, no, he's not back. We'll go to the roster. All right. But they put up a bunch of points. So they will sling it around. I guess maybe Carter Hensley. Is he the quarterback? Maybe he's the quarterback. He's the returning guy with experience. That's the only problem, though, with this game for Arkansas is that it's a little bit of a trap game because they got, well, for Arkansas State, because they have Arkansas the next week. That's a tough spot. All right. You can't be looking ahead to Arkansas when you got an FCS team who puts up a bunch of points. Let me see if they did put up a bunch of points last year. Let's see. They certainly had a bunch of yardage. Let's see what their scores were last year. They lost 35-27, Illinois State. They finished 9-4 last year. All right. 35-27. They lost 28-21. They beat Western Illinois 54-45. They did lose to Lindenwood 24-12. They won 30-24, 26-13, 34-3, 38-27. Northwestern State 19-0. So they can put up some points, 38-45. They did lose New Mexico State 23-16. And they beat North Alabama 37-15. So basically, your classic trap game. FCS opponent can put up a big time amount of points, but they are apparently breaking in a new quarterback. So be careful. All right. South Alabama already have the 28.5 spread over Morgan State. Let's see what Morgan State finished last year. Again, I'm not sure that matters. They finished 6-6. Again, I would look at those overs with the South Alabama team. All right, we're going to take Craig Stevenson's. We're going to take Craig Stevenson's idea here and go with that. That's what I'm looking at for that one. South Alabama's probably going to win the ball game. I'm not sure if they're going to cover that 28-point spread. All right. Probably put up a lot of points, but I'm presuming Morgan State's going to be able to score. All right. So we'll take South Alabama. I'm not sure about that 28-point spread. Troy's playing Nichols. That's 7 p.m. on ESPN plus 6 p.m. Central Time. Nichols got that one ball game under their belt. They did play last week. So tough spot for Troy. And Troy's got Clemson next week. Not sure how much they're looking ahead to play that ball game. Compared to Arkansas State playing Arkansas. But we'll take Troy in this one. I don't have a line on that one just yet. Ole Miss taking on Georgia State. Ole Miss is 34.5-point favorites. Again, it should be a blowout. It really should be. I did preview this with Stephen Willis from Lockdown Ole Miss. I do want to see if Georgia State can hang in the first half. It is the thing about this ball game is, and I think it's also on TV at night, SEC Network. So that's pretty cool. It is at 7:45 p.m. It's at night, Vaught Hemingway Stadium. So it's an all-day deal. So maybe you catch Ole Miss a little bit flat-footed to begin with. See if you can put a couple of points on the board. I want to see if Georgia State can compete early on. Because Ole Miss has got a couple SEC foes after that, like South Carolina and Kentucky, although maybe not in that order. So let's see if they can hang. I'm not sure they're going to cover because I think part of it is in this day and age, you got to win impressively. And if Lane Kiffin can do that, he's going to try. I don't think you're going to see a bunch of starters play in the fourth quarter, but I think he's going to try to put up as many points as possible. So I think Ole Miss is going to cover in this one. All right, Cajuns taking on Rice, home opener. I think they have a bunch of seats available. I'm just not going to belabor on the point. It is not going to be a pretty sight if this stadium is 2/3 full. Not good. Anyway, Cajuns 11.5-point favorite over Rice. I think they will take care of that. Probably win by 2 touchdowns or so. Let's see what Walker Howard does. Let's see what the Cajuns defense does, linebacker wise and defensive back wise. Up front, they're pretty solid. And of course, running back wise, Zylan Perry and Bill Davis, very talented. And they have, they have a lot of weapons offensively, at the wideout position. So let's see if they can do that. Texas State taking on Eastern Michigan, 13.5-point favorites. I do think Texas State wins this ball game and covers that spread. And Georgia Southern heading out west. They're already out there. They are taking on Fresno State. That is on FS1. We'll see the beginning of that ball game. Georgia Southern has gone from a 1.5 underdog to a 1.5-point favorite. Georgia Southern wins that ball game. All right, I will write those down and keep track of it. Spreads and outright victories, so to speak. So we'll do that, and I will try to be generous there. I do think Ole Miss is going to cover. I think Georgia's going to cover as well. I would certainly not put money on Marshall or Georgia State, is what I'm telling you. I would put money on Old Dominion. I'm going to be disappointed if Old Dominion is blown out. That's going to be disappointing. I will say that. All right. You can lose. Don't be losing 42-10. That's going to be a problem as far as I'm concerned. All right. We may have, I may do got a special Saturday. I'm going to do I'm going to put the ads in there, but I'm going to have the special Saturday edition of the Georgia State Ole Miss game because it was Saturday night. So we'll have a special Saturday edition. And Sunday we'll play the On the Belt Beat with David Hall for the Virginia Pilot. So we can do that one. That's an extra bonus episode on Sunday as well. And we'll recap everything for Monday. So we'll do that on Monday as well. Next week is a big week. Hopefully everybody enjoys their Labor Day weekend, but it's a Bourbon Fest. So we are going to be very busy next week. And of course, JMU comes in here. So we are going to be looking forward to that. Already have an event on Thursday. Friday is the ball game. I don't think I work until Saturday or until Sunday. So at the Bourbon Fest, but we're looking forward to it. So it's going to be a fun time. All right. If you're coming to Bourbon Fest, let me know. All right. We'll be either at the distillery or at Bourbon Fest or even at the ball game. Again, everybody, thank you so much. I know we went long, told you that was going to happen, but we are previewing it in week 1. A lot of games on. That was the thing on national TV. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games on national TV. That's pretty good. That's pretty good for the Sun Belt. For week 1 and more are coming up. So a lot of the games in the first month or so on national TV. So that's pretty good. And again, special thanks to everybody who has followed and got me over that 2,500 subscriber mark. It does mean a lot. And especially the people who encouraged others to do so. That was very kind. That meant a lot as well. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what you guys think of my predictions. I'm sure some of them are not going to go over very well, but it is what it is. Enjoy the football, everybody. All right. You've been watching and listening. Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Have a safe and fantastic first weekend of college football, Labor Day weekend. Again, special episode on Saturday with Stephen Willis of Locked On Ole Miss. And then David Hall from the Virginian Pilot on the Belt Beat on Sunday. And we'll have a full recap on Monday for week one. Again, thanks again. And we'll talk to you again on, well, the whole weekend, actually, is what it turns out to be. You've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day.